Welcome to another workshop video log. Today we've got two Gold Stars here, but in the workshop we're going to give you an update on the bikes that we've been working on, and you'll know in a moment what we've been doing on those. So we're going to talk about these two bikes. So this one here is a BB34. I think this one is 1955. It was used in competition, so it was a proper scrambler. It's now going to be put on the road, so it's going to be road registered. So we've got various things to do to this. The mag's off, we've got a BTH mag to go on here. We're just going to run through this, make sure everything's working okay. We need to put an air filter and bits and pieces on. We'll have put a registration number on the back. We'll put a brake light on here. But this would be a nice little bike. We changed carburetor because it's got, at the moment, it's got the Amel power jet. We'll put probably concentric on their 1000 series, but we'll take the main stand off and just have a side stand. It belongs to same guy, owns this one. He's going to give this one up because of health reasons, and it's one of those things. Clip-ons, rear sets, doesn't suit everyone. So the Clubman is a 1957 bike. I know that because it's the same age as me. Okay, it's not matching numbers, but it's got some nice bits on here. We've got some Taylor Dowell bits on here. We've got the lighter tank. It's got a 5-speed gearbox cluster in here, which is Nova. It's got an LEB crank, so it's got a pressed up crankshaft. It's been re-sleeved, new piston. It's had work done on the head, valves and seats and the rest of it. So it's a very nice bike. We're going to start it up for you. It's running.
What are you going to do to it, mate? What's it in for?
It's in for, basically, it's going to be recommissioned. He wants new tyres because he wants to sell this, so we're going to give it a service. So oil change, check everything through properly, change the tyres, just make sure it's in good order to sell. But it runs really well. I'm going to start it up for you now. GP carb, it runs really well on this, and it's quite easy to start. So he says. We'll put the fuel on. I think this one likes to be tickled a little bit to start it, so we just give it a little bit of flooding.
Is that a racing tank? Is that what they use?
Yeah, the lighter tank, yeah. So like we had here a little while ago, for endurance racing. Let's see if I can do it on the main stand. One kick. Not bad for a Gold Star first kick. Very quiet engine. Check here for return. Got a good oil return. It's actually a very nice bike. Ticks over as well. That's not bad for GP carb. But that runs really well. I was told that it had been set up for competition use, it was never used. So, I mean, we got very little to do to this. It does need some decent tyres on here. We'll probably put on the Avon Road Riders on here. But I think it's, that's a good example of a Gold Star. And probably this will be around the sort of £15,000 mark, really, which I think for a Gold Star like that is pretty good. But I think his attention is going to be now on the Scrambler. And if we can get this up together for him, we'll show you the bits inside in a moment, but that would make a nice little bike. That is running on a standard crank, whereas this is the replacement pressed up NEB crank in here. So here we have some of the parts, well, the parts that are going to go onto the Scrambler, the BB34 outside. The magneto, Lucas Mag. We've got an airbox here, which we're just going to polish. We're not going to paint this, we'll polish it up, then we'll put a transfer on there. We've got a sump, bash guard. Because it's got the Amel power jet carb, we're going to put a concentric 1000 series. He's given me a couple of carbs here. It's a case really of which is the best one. So we can set that up. Chain guard to go on because it's going to be on the road. Got a side stand, so we're going to do away, because this do a bit of green laning, do away the main stand it's got on there, and there's a new front wheel spindle. So yeah, I think this will be a nice little bike. Yeah, so that's quite an easy, straightforward job to do really. And just over here, I'm going to give you an update on the BB Gold Star. This one here, as you remember, we're still waiting for the crank to be sorted out. But I said to Ian, the owner, I'll push on with the job as much as I can. So we've rebuilt the gearbox. So the gearbox is a standard ratio gearbox. So in there now is all new bushes. It's had a replacement lay shaft, reconditioned, which has been ground undersized with new bushes. So everything on this is all nice and tight, and even the clutch activating arm, there's a lot of wear in this case, and yesterday I've machined this out and put a bush in here. So everything's got a nice smooth operation now. So the gearbox is done. What else have we done? We've got the tank on now, so you can see what she's going to look like. Nice new tank. Looks
Where's the tank
period.
from, mate?
This is a tank made in India. Now these are complete copies. They are better than what you'd find on an old bike now, because most of these tanks have rotted out. So to be honest with you, paid not silly money for this. It's £550, but tank came complete, painted, badged, taps, the whole lot. So we've got new bars on here. We've got A10 bars. It's going to be in touring trim, so these are actually stainless steel. We're using much of his parts as possible. I have put his switch on here. Whether you leave it on here, I don't know, but it fits quite well. This is not, it's redundant, because basically you've got the horn here, and this would be a kill switch, but not on a single, because it doesn't have a mag kill switch on this setup, so it would probably be redundant. What have we done also to it? We've sorted out the wiring. He had some connectors on here that weren't really right. We've done all that. The voltage regulator's been rewired. We put a chain guard on here now, a chrome chain guard. We put new shocks on here now. We put shrouded shocks on. So the bike is starting to look tidy. There's a little thing I will mention to people. It's had a few scratches here on the mudguard, which were already on here. If you come to do any drilling on stainless steel or aluminium, get a little bit of masking tape first. Put it on where you're going. Get a percussion punch, make a little hole, because it's so easy to slip when you're doing any drilling onto stainless steel or aluminium, and this is what can happen. So there's been a few marks here which were already here, so we can't do much about that. But the bike now really has got a stage where I've got a little bit of paint to touch up here. We're just now waiting for the engine. Get that back in, and yeah, it should be done. But it's looking much better, and I think that tank does set that bike off. So I think Ian will be pleased with that. So we're going to talk about Oliver's Golden Flash. Now this came in, remember, a few weeks ago, and we had the gearbox stripped out on the bench. We showed the case that was still in situ and been stripped out. What I've done is obviously had the whole body of the gearbox out, and same as with the BB over there, we had to take the box apart, put the box in the oven, drifted up the bushes, new bushes put in. Same on this one, the lay shaft was done, built the clutch back up, the clutch had a missing clutch plate, new primary chain in there, so that's done. That part of it is done. We have polished his cases up for him, but the difference now, it's presentable now. So we're now waiting for the barrel to come back from SRM, because they're doing the rebore and supplying new pistons. So hopefully within 2 weeks we can have this finished, and we'll get Oliver to come down, and we'll get him to have a chat with you as well, and he can talk about his bike and, you know, why he's got into British bikes. And this is what we're trying to encourage the younger generation to come into bikes. So that's moved on quite well.
Dave, tell us about your process over here.
Oh yeah, so at the back of the bench now, you can see we've got various boxes. Now everything has its place. At the far end here, we've we bought the matchless in. Now this is the Rob's bike. Well, it was his dad's bike. So we got the engine gearbox here. We got a crankshaft there. So that's come out of the machine shop now. It's in here. So I want to make a bit of progress on this. So that's there. This one is the BB Gold Star, Ian's bike that we've just been looking at on the far side. So hopefully soon we can start to clean this up, but everything has its place. We keep it all in order. So that is the BB, and here we have the Ranger, the P11. This crankshaft is a Gold Star crankshaft that goes with this job here, but this is the Ranger, and there's a few parts on the end in this box here that Oliver's. We've got Oliver's head, and we've got his rocker box and his carb. So everything is kept boxed up. We keep everything separate so nothing can get mixed up. Good?
Yeah.
The last bike we're going to talk about is the P11 Ranger. Last time we saw this, I think we had the engine out and the gearbox out. It's just bare frame, basically. This came in semi-stripped down. It had mudguard off and the engine was in the frame, but we had to take it out because I mentioned about the end float and the crankshaft. So we've given the engine a full rebuild. I've stoved the barrel on it. We've honed it out, new pistons because they were pattern pistons, new shells, been right through all that. Gearbox, gaskets, a few seals are changed. But building a job up like this, it does take a long time, and I know customers' expectations are quite high. And sometimes, you know, something comes in boxes, and time is money, and you haven't got all day to find bits. And sometimes we do, I'll be honest with you, we can't find a fastener or something. We might put something in which is okay. But what I'm saying is some of these fasteners, they're not the original. But sometimes it could be down to a customer later on to do all this, because when you've got so many other jobs on the go at the same time, you know, you're in it to run a business. It does take up a lot of time. I try and keep things authentic, and we will have a look through his boxes and pieces and try and find his original bolts. I think they're just painted ones, but they are shoulder bolts, and they are new nylocks, and you wouldn't really see that with seat on the top. But we will change those over if we have time, and we're going to have to take the back wheel out because the customers asked me to take it out. He had it rebuilt, and he's worried about the bearings being put in too tight. So that's another job. I'd rather get it going first, because I've got to the stage now where I'm putting on the oil lines, feed and return, which I'll show you something in a moment you might be interested in. And then I've got to put a new loom in this, and the loom has got to be adapted to fit this. So quite a bit of time in wiring this bike up. What I'm going to show you is when people come to cut petrol pipe or oil line pipe, it's side cutters or hacksaw, and you can wander. Now these things, I borrowed these today, belong to my friend Pete. But if you want to cut a piece of pipe like this, now it has a ratchet, and you watch when this actually squeezes up, you get a straight cut. Just keep going.
What are they called, Dave?
Well, I call them well, they are snap-on. No, sorry, Blue Point. They do have a name. I'll have to ask Pete in a moment. But they are really nice. They're almost like what you would expect to get like pruning shears, really. But the way they work, if you look at the process, they hold it like a vice. so it can't wander. That's the difference. You've got the blade here, but you have like a vise that keeps it square. But yeah, they are really good. I recommend it. If you've struggled trying to cut anything straight, pick up some of those, because that's quite big diameter pipe to cut. So this one's coming on quite well now, so hopefully next time you see it I would have got the loom in, hopefully. But we're spinning plates. We are trying to do several jobs at the same time. This might have to come off for a while because we do want to get the Gold Star in, and we might have to have a bit of a shift around. But I think the BB, I think that's going to be a bit of a wait now for the crank. But I say most of the work is done on that. I think that's really all I've got really here to show you at the moment. Out the back we've still got the project bike to get on with, and eventually we want to get that in here so we can expose the work that we're doing on that for you. But yeah, it all takes time, but we're getting there. We are getting there.